welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, thank you so much for joining in today. My name is Melissa and welcome to Tarot by Melissa YouTube channel. So I'm really excited for today because today I'm going to be kind of kicking off a new series that I'm going to be doing for my channel. And this series is going to be all about sharing with you guys my personal relationships with specific tarot cards. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I feel like as I've been on my journey of learning tarot, reading tarot, performing readings for clients, I have built certain relationships with cards based off my experiences that are just totally different than any of the meanings that I might find for that card in a book or online. And I thought it was really important to share this because there probably are a lot of readers out there that are new, and I know how it is to get like totally caught up in like reading the book and trying to figure out like the meaning from a book or from a website versus trusting in your own intuition. And so as I kind of do this series for you guys, I kind of just want to share like my intuitive interpretations of these cards, what they've really meant to me as I've built my relationships with them, and how they kind of differ from the meanings that you might see in the book if you were to look them up, okay? So the first card that we're going to be doing in this series is going to be the lovely Six of Pentacles. When I was thinking about doing this series, this was definitely the card that like screamed at me the loudest in my head that I needed to share with you guys, because in all of my experiences with this card, it has never quite exactly matched the traditional meaning that you might find in the book for me personally. Now, I think what's cool is that as you learn tarot and as you like read and grow with your experience with it, I feel like your relationship with these cards can broaden over time. They can shift over time, they can change over time, just based off different experiences in which you might read, right? So what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is just my personal experience with this card thus far, obviously knowing that it could shift or change depending on my experience and my relationship with it as I grow in my tarot journey. All right, so let me tell you guys a little bit about my journey with the Six of Pentacles, then we'll kind of get into what the actual textbook definition of it is. And I'll share with you guys like a few other personal examples that I have of how this card, just for me, has slightly differed from like the meanings that you might look up in the book, okay? So Six of Pentacles, when I first started seeing this card pop up for me in readings, it was probably back in the fall of 2018. And specifically, I would see this card pop up when I was doing readings about myself with regard to a specific romantic relationship that I was in. Okay, so I was in this, we won't even call it a relationship, it was a situationship, we'll say. And I remember during that time just like not really listening to my intuition about the situation, feeling like just really confused about the relationship in general, but just really wanting to believe it was something that it probably really wasn't, that it definitely wasn't for sure. Just totally ignoring all the signs and signals. And so back then, you know, I was really new to reading tarot. I think I had gotten my first deck like back in August of 2018. So a lot of times I would just like pick it up and play with it. And then finally, like, because I was so confused about the relationship and I couldn't communicate with the person I was in the relationship about it and get like clear answers from him, I would turn to tarot to get my answers. Probably just as a side note, red flag number one, if you guys are in a relationship and you can't get clarity from the person you're with and you got to ask the cards, that's probably not your person. Just gonna say that, just gonna throw that out there. So anyway, as I was doing readings on this relationship, I would ask a lot of like very nosy questions like, what are his true intentions? What does he really want from this relationship? How does he feel about me? Things like that. And I was literally being haunted by the Six of Pentacles card. So I want to read with you guys just out of a book what the definition of the Six of Pentacles is, so that you can kind of see like why this created a lot of confusion for me as I was experiencing this relationship, getting that card, and then reading the definition. It was like the definition wasn't necessarily adding up to my experience that I was going through in the relationship, right? So let's go ahead and let's look at this definition really quick. Okay, so the book that I'm going to be reading you guys the definition out of is called The Modern Witchcraft Book of Tarot. But literally any other resource that I was using back then would have been like something online, like I probably would have just Googled it really quick. There's one website that I like called Tarot Guide, I think. Everything's in purple there. So I would go to that one a lot. There's a ton of resources out there, you guys know. So I say all that to say, like, the definition in this book is very similar to the definition that I would find when I was looking it up on the internet back then. And before I share the definition with you guys, I just want to make a quick PSA that it's, in my opinion, if you're a new reader, it's very, very important that you are building your own relationship with the cards and really listening to your own intuition, because you know, had I listened to my own intuition about this card, I probably would have maybe woken myself up to what was really going on in this relationship that I shared with you a little bit sooner, right? Okay, so let me read to you guys, since we were talking about this in the context of my love life, I'm going to read to you what this book says about the meaning of the Six of Pentacles in love, okay? So this says, in a reading about love, the upright Six of Pentacles suggests sharing resources, financial and otherwise. That definitely was not happening in that relationship at all. With a partner so that you both benefit. This give and take card encourages you to open up to what a partner offers and vice versa. So really, the essence of the Six of Pentacles is talking about an equal exchange of give and take, an equal exchange of effort, energy, and resources. So that can apply to like how it's defined here for love. That can define to other things as well, right? But in my personal experience in this particular scenario with relationship, this was very much an imbalance of give and take. It was almost like in this scenario, I was the one, as it says in the book here, being encouraged to open up myself and give my resources to this person, but I was receiving almost like breadcrumbs in return. And I always felt like that was so weird. And one thing, you know, that I really kick myself about now when I reflect back on how I would do those readings for myself, I remember always intuitively being drawn to the breadcrumbs in this card. Like I always felt like this card just felt very like ugh to me. Like I know it's about generosity, it's about equal exchange of give and take, right? But it always just felt like, you know, there's one person that's giving if they choose, but they're only giving crumbs, even though they could be giving even more to this person that really needs it, right? So back then, I think I was always intuitively pulled to read differently based off what I was picking up on in the image, but I always kind of like would just stick to this definition, and I would be like, okay, so this means that this relationship is one based off generosity. It's based off equal exchange of give and take, right? So if I'm asking like, what are his intentions? Well, obviously this means that he's intending to like, you know, reciprocate this affection that I'm giving to him. But really that was just like not the case at all. Literally in that particular situation, this person that I'm telling you guys about was like breadcrumbing me. You know what I mean? Just giving me literally the bare minimum effort and energy that he had to, because he knew that it was keeping me around just enough, keeping me just interested enough, and he didn't really have to do too much else, you know what I mean? Because I was always gonna be there begging for those crumbs, really on an energetic level, right? So I feel like that's just like a really clear-cut example of how the way that that card is defined was just like totally different from one of my personal experiences with it. So I also wanted to share with you guys just a couple other examples of the Six of Pentacles and my relationship with it in different scenarios outside of like a love reading, okay? So I remember earlier this year, I was at a work conference. This was like back in January, I wanna say. So this was back in January, and at my work, we were at this conference, and you know, we were, you know, my peers and I were spread all across the country, right? So like I have a very wide range of peers and colleagues and coworkers that live all over the place. And this is a conference where we would come together like a couple times a year to connect and do things for work, okay? So this conference, you know, there was definitely an element of fun infused into it where we had like a team competition going on. So like, you know, maybe the team based on the East Coast and the team based on the West Coast and South. And so like we're all kind of like divided across the country into like teams based off of region. And this competition was very like Harry Potter, if you're familiar, where it's like you would do certain things, you would do certain activities, and you would win points for your region or for your team, okay? So during that week, the whole competition thing is going on, right? And everybody's having a good time. Each team is winning points and things like that. And then I remember, I'll never forget this, a tragedy struck that week. And one of our team members who was a manager on the team, actually passed away. And this manager, she was not there at the conference. I think she had probably been sick for a really long time. She'd been kind of like in and out of the conferences over the last year or so, just because of her health. So I think we all kind of knew that there was something going on behind the scenes. We just weren't really sure what it was. We just knew that she wasn't attending this particular conference, right? So you're probably wondering, how does this relate to the Six of Pentacles? So I remember pulling this the morning of, learning of her death and thinking like, well, how is this gonna fit into my day-to-day? Like, I'm going to training today, I'm gonna see my peers, it's gonna be a fun day, we're doing this team competition, like, I'm confused what's going on. So it all made sense later. After we learned of her passing, we all came together as a team later just to kind of grieve together, be together, comfort one another. And I think like, it was one of those things where, I can't remember if I'm getting my sequence out of order, but long story short, what ended up happening was, everybody from all of the regions that had won points for this team competition ended up just like gifting all of their points to that manager's region who had passed away, because it just felt like the right thing to do, and nobody really wanted to do a competition at that point after hearing that devastating news, right? So I don't know, like, I guess for me, I know that that is an example of generosity, but it still was a feeling of, it came along with such a feeling of sadness, you know what I mean? Giving because it's the only thing that you really could do at that particular moment in time, I guess. So that's just another example of my relationship with the Six of Pentacles that just, yeah, it is in line a little bit with the definition, but it doesn't necessarily feel as good as maybe it's being depicted in some of the books, right? So another more brief example that I have about this card also is kind of in line with the breadcrumbing example that I shared with you guys about my relationship. So I remember a few months ago, I was wanting to book a reading with this really, really popular reader that's on YouTube and Instagram who I really love. I was connecting with their stuff, really liking their technique, and just really was interested in booking with them. So I'm going back and forth, emailing this reader, trying to schedule the reading, and everything's lined up in terms of like the time slot, the topic, when it's gonna happen, all of that. And then I'm trying to ask for clarity about how much. So like I'm asking, how much do I have to pay you? And this reader is just like deliberately not answering, even though I've asked her like 5-6 times, how much money do I owe you? How much money do I owe you? I just got like a really weird vibe from it. And I ended up not booking the reading because I thought it was odd that she would be like withholding the amount of money that I would owe her to pay for this reading. So I ended up going back and looking at her rates, and she had them like displayed up on her YouTube. But, for me, I always like to verify to make sure that I'm sending someone the right amount of money and that I'm not overpaying or underpaying somebody. You know what I mean? So just a small example, very strange, but she was definitely, again, like kind of breadcrumbing me, because it's like she would answer all the other questions that I had about like the logistics, the topic. She was getting back with me really rapidly. We were exchanging messages back and forth. And then it was just like, she would not answer my question about payment. So I ended up actually not booking the reading with her because I just thought it was really strange. So probably my final example that I wanted to share with you guys about the Six of Pentacles that I thought is cool, just something that I've recently discovered about this card. In addition to this being an example that's totally out of alignment with what the definition is, this particular example that I have to share, it's actually coming from a different deck. So I have found that sometimes my relationship with a card can actually vary or differ based off of what deck that I'm reading from and what image is being depicted of the card. So this is a deck right here that I love. You guys probably saw it in my favorites video if you watched that one, but this is called the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. So I got this deck a couple months ago, and I've been using it pretty consistently ever since I got it, just because I connected with it really, really well. And I want to show you, this is the Six of Pentacles depiction here. So very different depiction to the original, right? So you can see here that this Six of Pentacles is like this woman. She's freezing, she's cold, maybe she's uncomfortable, and she's got all these cute, sweet little bunnies kind of like snuggling up to her, keeping her warm and comforting her. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way of illustrating the card, right? And I think in a way it does kind of align with how the card is defined, because this is sort of a depiction of generosity and equal exchange in some ways, right? Because I'm sure that all these bunnies are being warmed by her just as much as she's being warmed by them, right? But what I thought was really interesting about this card is that whenever I've gotten this card from this particular deck in a daily card pull, it's usually a day where I'm not feeling well. So it's like I pull the card in the morning, I go through my day, and then it's like I start to feel sick that day. Maybe it's like that time of the month and I have really bad cramps or something like that. And it's been like I've had to come home from work early, and literally I end up in the bed in the fetal position exactly like this. So just totally different, a little out there from like the traditional definition of the Six of Pentacles, but I just wanted to showcase to you guys that, like, once again, as you're learning tarot and you're reading and you're experimenting with different decks, I think it's always good to know what the basis of the card means and what the basic definition means, but you should always rely on your intuition and be able to intuitively interpret the cards and trust that it's gonna be right. Because for me, like now, when I look at this depiction of the card, it's like, oh man, I'm not gonna feel good today, right? Or maybe I'm gonna need to like relax today, or just kind of be to myself, or rest or recuperate or something like that, which is just so totally different from what the traditional Six of Pentacles image is giving to me. All right, you guys, well, thank you so much for joining me for this really fun tarot video. I hope that it was helpful. I had a lot of fun recording it. It's definitely something different for me, and I'll definitely be doing more of these because I have a lot of weird relationships with cards that like most people don't have that type of relationship with. And I would really like to share, because I also want to hear from you guys, especially those of you who are tarot readers. Like, I want to know what your experiences are with these cards. So I would love to know, anyone that reads tarot who's watching this video, you know, like, what does the Six of Pentacles mean to you? Is your experience with it more in alignment with what the traditional definition says, or is it totally outside of the box or a little bit veered off, kind of like how my experiences were? Does your relationship with the card change depending on the depiction of it, depending on the imagery? Tell me, I want to know. Like, leave me a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. As always, I super appreciate the support. Please don't forget to like this video if you did enjoy it, subscribe to the channel, share my content if you want to, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.